Hi there, my name is Alex. I am one of the naturalists at Okeeheelee Nature Center, and I'm also a certified yoga instructor. So today we're going to be doing yoga at the wall. Some of these poses that we're going to be doing might feel or might seem familiar to you, especially if you've done yoga before. But doing the poses at the wall can bring a whole new dimension to some of them. So some poses that maybe you're pretty comfortable with might seem a little more challenging when using the wall as resistance. Some poses that maybe seemed a little intimidating are hopefully going to seem a little more accessible now that you have the wall as support. So it'll be kind of an interesting way to bring a new perspective to your practice. I recommend, especially towards the end, if you want to have maybe 1 or 2 blankets on hand for our legs up the wall final pose, that can be really nice. But mostly today what you'll need is just a nice open expansive wall that you're going to be able to move around on and not, knock paintings down or anything off a shelf. So find a nice open space and get comfortable, and then we can go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so we're going to start in a nice, easy seated position. Hips and spine nice and supported by the wall behind you. Take a couple breaths here with your inhale, maybe imagining or allowing that spine to lengthen. And exhale. Take 3 more breaths here. Your next inhale again, allowing that spine to get nice and tall. And we're going to begin to move away from the wall. You can walk the hands out in front of you. But as we do this, we're going to keep our spine nice and long, and we're going to keep the hips energetically pressing towards the wall. So we're not allowing the hip bones to come up off the ground. As far forward as you can go with that spine nice and long. And when you've reached your point, you can allow your head to drop. Same thing here as you inhale, allowing the spine to lengthen. As you exhale, maybe you find yourself sinking just a little bit deeper, a little bit farther forward. Making sure those hips are reaching back as you reach forward. With your next inhale, we're going to walk the hands gently back. We're going to make our way up to a standing position. So for our first kind of wall stretch here, we're going to extend the right arm flat against the wall. Left hand comes right under the left shoulder. If this feels like enough of a stretch for you, you can stay here. If you want to go a little bit deeper, we're going to begin to turn the hips and the feet. So you want to keep the integrity of this hand. You don't want to allow it to start to kind of fall down the wall. And we want to kind of move or guide this motion from the hips. So if you've got your feet open this way, you're going to just begin to turn the hips to go deeper. And this can be kind of an intense stretch, so go slowly, back off if it feels like it's too much. Take 1 more deep breath. And then we're just going to switch sides. One side might feel really different, so again, just take your time to move through the pose. Check that your arm is in line with the shoulder. And then you can begin to move those feet and those hips. Take 1 more breath here. And we'll gently kind of roll our way out of this pose. So now we're going to come into kind of a wall-assisted downward facing dog. So you want to have your hands on the wall, maybe a little bit higher than your shoulders. And you're going to just walk your feet off the mat until you can kind of bow forward. And this is a very, this will feel different in every body, so take your time, see how it feels. One more breath. And we'll slowly walk ourselves back up. Bringing those hips back against the wall, bringing the spine nice and tall. We're going to come into a forward bend. So you can feel free to bend the knees here if you have tight hamstrings. But by using the wall, hopefully that'll bring a little bit more awareness to the anatomy of this forward fold and maybe even help you loosen up some of those hamstrings. So coming into your forward fold, you want to keep those hips pressed nice and tight against the wall and allow that pelvis to tip forward, keeping the grounding in all four corners of your feet. Trust that the wall will support you and so that you can really reach back into that wall to tip the front body forward. Take 2 more breaths. Your next inhale, we're going to gently roll back up to our standing position using that core, with your shoulders and your head the last to come up. So take a breath here, reconnect with the grounding in your feet, and when we come back, we'll move into our wall sequence. All right, guys, headstands, we can do this. So I recommend just listening through this part initially, and then once you've seen the whole process, you can pause the video and kind of work through it on your own. I just recommend approaching the pose slowly, making sure that you're checking in with yourself often, making sure that you're feeling good in each of these steps before you move on to the next one. We'll go over all the alignment, we'll make sure that the core is nice and engaged, which will prevent the back from arching, that the forearms are taking most of the weight so that it protects the neck from any injury. And you're going to be so proud of yourself when you see what you're capable of with our friend the wall here. Okay, let's get started. Okay guys, so if you're using a towel, you can go ahead and set it up in line with the wall. In terms of how we're going to set up the arms, we're going to interlace the fingers together. You can tuck this bottom pinky kind of into the basket of your hand so that it doesn't get crushed when you go down onto the fingers. And the arms are going to be kind of in like a triangle pose. So maybe place your hands about maybe an inch or 2 away from the wall. You want those elbows to be nice and sturdy in this kind of tripod pose. And then you're going to bring the crown of your head right into this little basket of your hands that you've created. You might have to take your hair down for this if you have it up in a high bun or something. And then you're going to come into kind of a downward facing dog position here and just begin to walk the feet towards the body. You want to check in and make sure that your forearms are really grounded, that they're taking most of the weight off of your head and your neck. And then we're going to engage our core here to draw the knees up. So you can either draw them up into the chest like this and then come into your handstand, or you can do one leg at a time. It's just really important that you don't kick up. So this is all core. Maybe you come up against the wall and then find that you can kind of balance on your own. Engaging that core so you don't arch your back. And when you're ready to come down, come on down. So you can either come into your child's pose, or I recommend seed pose, which is just forehead down, arms alongside you. And we'll rest here for a couple breaths. If you want, you can pause the video, go ahead and try it a couple more times. And when you're ready to come back to us, you can join us in our final pose, which is just going to be legs up the wall. So you can bring whichever hip you like up against the wall, and you're just going to kind of do like a little swoop there to get those sit bones close to the wall. And this pose is really nice just how it is. If you want, you can put like a pillow or a blanket under the head, or what I like to do is use a towel on the soles of the feet, and that adds a little bit of like grounding and downward motion. And you are welcome to stay here for your Shavasana, or you can stay here for a couple breaths before coming into your final Shavasana for the class. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you feel really proud of yourself. You've accomplished a lot today, and thanks for joining.